Alrighty, I'll tell you guys a little story. Just check how much. I think I got a few minutes worth of memory on this phone. I've been flogging it a fair bit today. Yeah, there's been a few things your father's been involved in lately on what I call the campaign trail. And yeah, it's certain place tried something a number of years ago, and they got to do what they wanted to do with a whole stack of conditions, and now they've gone back and said we want to expand what we've got, but they're trying to use the same conditions that got them into, they're trying to do the same cheapskate method that got them into all this trouble years ago. They've literally pretty much photocopied the same method they wanted to do things by, which is as cheap as dirt, and people like my father question the environmental safety of it and how it might affect other people like us. Anyways, bit of the backstory, like it really fucking went off like a firecracker, this shit. When it happened last time, it was about 15 years ago. Community come together big time, and this motherfucker who wanted to do this turned up, and he said quite simply in front of him, I have the right to do this, and I'm going to do it in your town if I want. I mean, that's what he fucking said. That's not really what I call negotiation. But that's what the dumb bastard said, and basically they ended up having a council meeting, which is like a local government, county, town hall sort of meeting on this. They have these meetings all the time, of course, but this one was specifically for this place, this business. And anyway, the previous one that happened years ago, there was that many people jammed in this joint, like, there's the chambers or whatever they call it, and they had that many people in there. It was standing room only, and they were so concerned that the joint was going to actually turn to a riot, which they've probably, I don't think they've ever had that in the history of this joint, that's been going for fucking 100 years or something, that they actually had two cops there in case a riot erupted. That's how fucking bad it got. And this arrogant prick still stood there and stuck to his guns and all this shit, but he got chucked out. So what happened is there's a big thing in this state that people often go to, and it's helped a lot because it's a mediation thing, and it's a mediation place. It's been set up by the state government. I don't know if they've got it in other states, but they definitely do have it in this state. And the idea was to take the weight off the courtrooms by having some sort of mediation and settlement. So you go in there and there's all these, mediators that are all set up by, and they're funded by the government to resolve disputes and avoid them going to court. And it saves you a hell of a lot in court costs because most of this is almost peanuts to go through it. And so anyway, this arsehole still wanted his stuff. So they ended up going there. The first thing they realised is, we didn't expect so many people. So they went and, there's different rooms in this joint with a mediation table. They had to go and move it to another room because they couldn't fit all the people in this room. So they had to say, we're going to have to delay this to another week because we literally can't get seats enough for everybody in this room because the room's not big enough. So they delayed it. Well, eventually this guy got what he wanted, and I've found out in due course that some of the shit he claimed that cost him huge prices, one of it was a certain device that was supposed to fix a certain problem. He didn't put that in. He put in something that was another device that baffled the person who come to look at it, and they just believed it. Which I was shocked when I found out what it was, and whoever must have looked at it must have had the head screwed on or have much of an idea of that business to believe what they were told. And this arsehole claimed that he spent $30,000 on something, and I know for a fact he would have spent probably under $1,000, maybe only $600 to do this thing. You couldn't fucking believe it. So recently it's all been back on, and the dumb bastards put it all in, and you know, they're required to give planning notice to a certain amount of people, and you only got 2 weeks to object to it, and they only tell everyone within a certain fairly close distance. Well, of course, my parents were one, and what do you know, I'm next door. I got the papers as well. In fact, I believe they're sitting on my kitchen table in an envelope still. And well, she was back on, and my father's out there, and he was on what I call the campaign trail, and he went into the surrounding towns, and this knocked door to door, one house after another, and he went through at least 3 towns. I'm not fucking joking. Oh God! So, I done the paperwork I had to do as well. They actually talked to the local government guy who said, I can't believe that they've put all this through. They must think you're all died or moved out of the area because it all come up because it's an extension of an existing one. They looked at the original application, and of course the local government guy picked up straight away that it was all word for word copy of the one 15 years ago. And I think it might even be 18 years ago. But anyway, you know, when my father talked to him, the idea he got is that we're probably going to end up getting exactly what we wanted. And the way it's going, the objections to this, I fairly strongly believe are going to be in excess of 25 objections. It may be 30-something objections. Now, people do something and they may get... Like, my uncle had this grand idea of setting up a fucking restaurant and all this other shit right on this very fucking land that I'm standing on right now, pretty much in this exact same spot. And, you know, he got objections that come in, and we read objections, and, you know, you got the right to see what all the objections are. And, you know... a few people objected. I think there was about 4 or 5, you know, and this is what my uncle wanted here was a fairly colossal sized joint, you know, and I mean it was fucking big. Like him and his fucking money borrowing, he would have had to fucking just about die to borrow this amount of money that he was going to need to put this thing. I don't think he'd ever even get finance for it. Actually, I know he wouldn't have got finance for it, because he's battling to hold on to finance he had, but his plan was to put a joint up that was, honestly, by the time you fucking... I don't even think you had to factor in the car park. I just think the building itself and the surrounding garden or whatever is probably fucking half an acre at least. I think the building itself would have been half an acre. I mean, it was going to be fucking huge. And I found the plans for it too when I... clean this joint out sort of thing, and holy shit, you know, there was a proper one drawn up by the fucking draftsman / architects, and holy shit, it was a big building. But he got about 4 or 5 objections to that, not surprisingly. And like most of his things, it wouldn't have financially worked. He just couldn't have a restaurant as big as he wanted and all this other shit, and he expected to fly in a joint that's this far in the middle of fucking nowhere. We're not nowhere, but I know what works and what doesn't, and it was just way too big. You know, it was like trying to put fucking Trump Tower in some little fucking Midwestern town. It just wouldn't have flown, you know. It would have been a commercial failure. But, you know, this is what happens. Some people do things, they get 3 objections, they get 5 objections, and I think this guy's probably going to be looking at least, you know, 25, most likely probably 30, 35. And in due course of this, we're probably going to find out who, you know, how many he does actually get, because I think the date for it all is only a couple of days away till the cut-off date is. So, and by the time you watch this, it's probably well and truly the cut-off date already. And I think it could be yesterday, to be quite honest. Anyway, just a little bit about the shenanigans that are going on, but my father's met a lot of people and stuff in the process, and scored himself a free hot water system as well, and yeah, he said it's funny, you turn up there and they look at you like you're the Jehovah's Witness or something, and it's like, oh fuck, what's this, and then, once you tell them what's going on, they're like, what? And then they sort of, warm up to it. But a lot of them have said, we moved out into this area to avoid the exact sort of shit that this bastard's already got and trying to extend further, And so, yeah, the fighting a few battles recently, but, yeah.